Welcome to FPTV New Releases, where it's time for a slice of truth in the form of the Department of Truth. Volume 1 collection, The End of the World paperback is out now for pre-order from Image. You can pre-order it from the links attached to this interview with the author, James Tynion IV. How are you, mate? It's great to see you again.
Great to see you too. Thanks for having me.
Always a pleasure, brother. Always a pleasure. What can you tell the uninitiated about Department of Truth?
Well, Department of Truth is a series that has been cooking in the back of my mind for a long, long time. This is something that started coming together in the wake of the last presidential election in 2016. And this it's something that, you know, I was one of the people who, like, you know, and it's become a bit of a cliche at this point, but who did not see the, President Trump winning as a possibility. And that, and it got under my skin. It got under my skin that I had such a, I had this incorrect view of the world. And I started reading loads and loads of nonfiction about the 20th century and all of the things that have been leading us to this moment. And I started seeing this whole history of, the history of what people believe in this country and the way beliefs shift back and forth and the way that our history shifts with those beliefs. And so all of those things started coming together into this idea of like, how can I write a comic book series that taps into the history of what people believe about themselves and the world? How do you tell a story about how history changes depending on who believes what? And all of that started coming together through the lens of conspiracy theories for me. And that was a key thing in my studies about the world that I was deeply, deeply fascinated. And I've spent my entire life fascinated by conspiracy theories. I blame the X-Files a little bit because I think when I was a kid, when the X-Files started coming out, there was this slew of nonfiction, quote unquote nonfiction books that were in every every school library that was about UFOs and cryptozoology and all of the Bigfoot and Nessie and all of these different fantastical characters that I just inhaled all of that information. I wanted to be a cryptozoologist when I grew up. That all of this really came together for me, and so did the concept of the Men in Black, the sort of secretive government agencies that sort of keep everything secret. So all of that had been cooking in the back of my mind, and then we sort of, we saw the big hook of the thing, which was how to root it in the biggest and most important conspiracy theory of the modern age, which is the JFK assassination. So it was one of those things where all of these pieces started melding together, and I wanted to create a series that could explore all of the different conspiracy theories and all of the lore around all of these different conspiracy theories with a lens of fiction that allows us to look at the most dangerous conspiracy theories of the modern day. And look them straight in the eye without the danger of spreading them as dangerous beliefs. So, and that balance and that ethic was deeply important to me. So, when I found an incredible co-creator in Martin Simmons, and being able to, and bringing him onto the book, it changed the entire game, because I remember when I started coming up with this process, with this concept, I in my head, I was like, I wish I could get someone who had a little bit of Bill Sienkiewicz, a little bit of Dave McKean, someone who could really, who could shift styles as we start talking about all of these really heady concepts and all of these really truly bizarre conspiracy theories and all these wild things that people believe. And Martin had done this series of like on Instagram, he had done all these ink sketches of different musicians, and it was in a scritchier, inkier style than most of his work that had come out, which had all been digitally made, as opposed to just actually physically made. And I reached out to him and said, like, hey, I love your work. I have this big crazy idea, but I would love to see you do it in this style. Is this a direction that you are interested in taking your style, or is this a deviation from your style? And thankfully, he was all in. And I think it's the work of his career, and it is the most painstakingly researched book that I have ever written, and one of the most deeply personal, that goes to some of the darkest places of anything that I have ever written.
Yeah, I think it's a fascinating book. And just to be clear, are the pages is the art traditionally created then?
Yes, it's traditionally created, digitally colored, but it's all mixed media, and there's a lot of collage work done as a part of making it. I wish I had one of the original pages that I could hold up right now, because it is fascinating to see him work in all of his different styles. There's this character in the series, the Star-Faced Man, who every time he shows up, it is actually like he is a collage-based character. Martin created a 3D sculpt of his head that then he photographs from different angles, and then cuts up the photographs and then incorporates them on the page. And it makes, that seeing that done, like the actual collage work in a final comic book, it elevates the whole process. I really think.
Yeah, right on. And something I meant to ask you. You and I have chatted a few times recently about a variety of your projects. And do you ever get up in the morning, look in the mirror, and think, if only I could be more productive?
Oh God, I wish I slept more. I think that would be a good thing. But honestly, it's something that when I set, it takes a few years to get any creator-owned project up and running, because you have to wait for the right hole in everyone's schedule. You have to get a publisher on board. You have to produce a certain number of issues before it can be solicited. There are so many things that get in the way. But I had started sort of transitioning out of superhero comics, and that was my goal. Was like in 2020, I was going to kind of scale down my superhero work and shift into almost full-time creator-owned work. But then the opportunity of Batman happened, and I saw, and you can't pass up Batman. For in that moment,
variety of reasons, creatively and the audience exposure it gives you at the same time, all of that, right?
Exactly. And I sat down in that moment, and I had I had a difficult conversation with my partner and all of that, where it was just like, in this moment, I have two options. I can put a number of my creator-owned projects on pause, and sort of, and focus everything into Batman. Or I can basically say, okay, these next couple of years are going to be hard. I'm going to need to work my butt off, and really nose to the grindstone, be almost constantly working. But there's an opportunity here, because if I keep these trains running, I can use the spotlight of Batman to launch all of these series and really give them a real fighting chance to be to have the outreach that I saw them to have. They had the potential to have. So it was something that, and we made the agreement, and it happened to coincide that what we refer to is my partner Sam. They are in grad school for creative writing right now, and this is my own grad school intensive experience, where I'm just I'm gonna write a whole bunch this past year and this next year. And then I'm going to hopefully put the brakes on a little bit and work on a few things. But I wanted to make the most of this opportunity in this moment, and especially while I'm feeling like I'm hitting a new moment in my career, and I feel like I have a new control over my craft and what I want to use my craft and the sort of stories that I want to tell with it. So it's leaning into that, and it is it's a lot of work. It is a lot of work, and I am working constantly. And honestly, it's part of the reason COVID has been an absolute nightmare, but not having conventions has meant I have not fallen behind on schedule on most of my projects.
Just been able to knuckle in and do it. No, I totally get that. And I think you're very lucky to have that confluence between, the blossoming and the maturation of your work, for want of a better description, and the opportunity to not seize the day, as it were, would be a crime, really. So, you would have been crazy to walk away from it just at the point you are now on a number of levels. And all joking aside, it's so refreshing to see somebody who can maintain the standard you do to be as prolific as you are. I think that's a wonderful thing, particularly in today's comic book industry.
I appreciate it. This is I'm friendly with, and I've known for a long time, is Jeff Lemire, and I've always sort of he is also a very prolific writer, and I had a big conversation with him about how can you sustain yourself while you are working on all of these different projects, and I had some great input there, but it's I appreciate it, and I'm just happy that people are reading these books, and that they have the audience they do, and I just want to keep making a bunch of really cool comics.
And mate, that's exactly what we want as well. So thank you so much for joining me. This time around, we've been talking about Department of Truth. Volume 1, The End of the World, the paperback edition, is available for order attached to this interview. And James, thanks so much for carving out the time and spending some time with us today, mate.
Thanks so much for having me.
Take care of yourself. We'll see you soon. All the best. Bye-bye.
Bye.